Have you ever stopped to think that the version of you that everyone loves, the kind one, the patient one, the one who never complains, the one who always shows up, might not be you at all? What if the person you have been your whole life was not a choice? What if it was a cage, built so quietly, so gently, over so many years, that you never even saw the bars? You are tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind of tired that comes from carrying people who were never yours to carry, from saying yes when every cell in your body was screaming no, from shrinking yourself so that others could feel comfortable, from being so afraid of being too much that you became far, far too little. And here's the part that nobody tells you. The people walking all over you, they are not the real problem. The real problem is something much older, something that lives inside you. Something Carl Jung spent his entire life trying to show us. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why you became this person. You will see the invisible machinery that has been running your life without your permission, and you will discover the path that Jung mapped, the only path back to who you were always meant to be. This video is not a lecture. It is a mirror. Let's go back, not to last year, not to your last relationship, all the way back to the beginning. You were a child, and like every child, you needed two things above everything else. You needed love, and you needed to be safe. And somewhere along the way, you learned a terrifying lesson that those two things were conditional. Maybe it was a parent who only smiled when you were quiet, who only held you when you were not causing trouble, who only praised you when you had done something for them. Maybe the voices around you said things like, "Stop being so dramatic. You are too sensitive. Think about how this makes everyone else feel. Be grateful. Other people have it worse. Why do you always have to make things difficult?" Short sentences, brutal in their simplicity. And every single one of them taught you something devastating. They taught you that your needs were inconvenient, that your feelings were a burden, that the safest version of you, the version that would be loved, the version that would not be abandoned, was a smaller version, a quieter version, a version that gave more than it received and asked for nothing in return. So you adapted, because that is what children do. They are survival machines. And you survive by becoming indispensable, by being the good one, the helpful one, the one who never rocked the boat. Carl Jung called this the formation persona, the mask we build to meet the world's expectations. Jung understood that every human being, from the earliest age, constructs a social face, a curated self, a version of us that we believe the world will accept. Your persona became, "I am the one who gives. I am the one who does not complain. I am the one who puts others first." And for a while it worked. People liked you. People needed you. People called you an angel, the most caring person they knew. And that felt like love. It felt like safety. It felt like proof that you were enough. But it was not love. It was approval. And there is a catastrophic difference between the two. Love sees you. Approval uses you. And now, decades later, you are still wearing that mask, still running that survival program, still giving and giving to people who take and take and take, still saying yes when you mean no, still swallowing your anger because somewhere deep in your nervous system, anger still feels dangerous, still feels like it will cost you everything. But this is only the surface. What lives underneath is darker, and it has a name. Carl Jung was perhaps the most radical psychologist who ever lived, not because he was the most famous, but because he dared to go where others refused, into the darkness, into the unconscious, into the parts of ourselves we have spent our entire lives trying to ignore. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Read that again. Sit with it. Because it is the key to everything you are experiencing right now. You did not consciously choose to become a doormat. You did not wake up one day and decide to let people walk all over you. It happened in the dark, in the unconscious, in the unexamined machinery of a wounded child trying to survive, Jung gave us the concept of the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is not the villain. The shadow is everything you were told was unacceptable. Everything you were forced to bury. Your anger, your desire, your boundaries, your ambition, your need to be seen, your right to say no. When a child is told that certain emotions are wrong, dangerous, or unlovable, those emotions do not disappear. They go underground. They become the shadow. They live in the dark basement of your psyche, gathering power, waiting. And here is what Jung discovered that will rearrange everything you think you know about yourself. The shadow does not stay buried. It erupts sideways in ways you do not recognize as your own repressed material. It shows up as exhaustion that has no medical explanation, as a rage that frightens you, as the inexplicable feeling that you are disappearing, as a pattern, the endless, maddening pattern of attracting people who treat you as less than you are. You have been told your whole life that your problem is that you care too much, that you are too sensitive, too giving, too open. But Jung would tell you something entirely different. Jung would say your problem is not that you care too much. Your problem is that you have abandoned yourself. He wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Think about that. Complete self-acceptance. Not the sanitized, palatable version of you that you offer the world. The whole you, the angry you, the needy you, the you that wants to scream sometimes, the you that has desires and ambitions and opinions that you have spent years quietly suffocating. Jung called the journey of reclaiming this buried self individuation. It is perhaps the most important word in all of psychology. Individuation is the process of becoming who you actually are, not who your parents needed you to be, not who your culture told you to be, not who your wounds forced you to become, who you are at your core, before anyone told you that was too much. But who benefits from you not doing this work? Who profits from you staying small, staying silent, staying endlessly available and endlessly accommodating? The answer to that question is the real villain, and it is closer than you think. There is a particular kind of person who finds you irresistible, not because they love you, because you are useful. They are not always cruel. In fact, they're often charming, warm even. They know exactly how to make you feel needed, how to make your giving feel like love rather than extraction, how to position your boundaries when you occasionally dare to have them as selfishness. They are drawn to your light, but they do not want to bask in it. They want to consume it, and you let them, not because you are weak, but because somewhere in your nervous system, their need for you feels like safety. It feels familiar. It feels like the only love you ever learned. Jung had a name for this dynamic. He called it the projection of the anima and animus, the way we unconsciously cast other people in the roles our unhealed psyche needs them to play. You project the rescuer onto them. They project the endless source of supply onto you. And you both dance a dance that was choreographed in childhood, playing out in adult bodies. But here is where it gets truly insidious. Here is the accusation flip. The thing that will sting, because it is true. You call it empathy. But some of it is fear of confrontation. You call it kindness. But some of it is terror of abandonment. You call it being selfless. But some of it is an inability to believe you deserve to take up space. You call it love. But you have never actually shown anyone who you really are. So what exactly have they been loving? You have not been giving love. You have been purchasing it, paying for it in self-erasure and silence and swallowed needs, hoping that if you give enough, if you are good enough, if you are useful enough, someone will finally choose you, really choose you, not the mask, you, but the mask is all they have ever seen. And the people who take advantage of this wound, whether consciously or not, they have not created your suffering. They have simply revealed it. They are a symptom. The wound is older. The wound came first. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The person walking all over you is showing you where you are not standing up for yourself. The person who takes without giving is showing you that you have not yet decided your own worth. The person who ignores your needs is showing you that you've been ignoring them first. For decades. This is not blame. This is power. Because if it is inside you, it can be changed by you. There is a way out, and it begins with the shadow. I have to warn you about something before we go further. Jung was not a man who offered comfortable solutions. He did not believe in comfortable solutions. He believed that real transformation is preceded by real disorientation, that you have to be willing to fall apart before you can come together as something true. What follows will not be easy. It will get harder before it gets better, but it will get better. And the version of you waiting on the other side of this work is so far beyond what you can currently imagine that the discomfort is worth every agonizing second. Here's the path Jung mapped. Here are the steps. You cannot integrate what you cannot see. The first act of liberation is to get honest, radically, uncomfortably honest, about what you have buried. Take a piece of paper. Write down every emotion you were told was wrong, every desire you have suppressed, every time you said yes and meant no, every version of yourself you have hidden because you believed it would cost you love, every opinion you swallowed, every boundary you abandoned. This is your shadow inventory. This is everything that has been running your life from underground. See it, name it, do not judge it. The shadow is not your enemy. It is the most honest part of you. The persona, the mask, has been your primary relationship strategy for years. And it has to end. Not all at once, but it has to end. This week, find one situation where you would normally erase yourself, where you would agree to keep the peace, where you would say it's fine when it is not fine, and say something true instead. It does not have to be dramatic. It does not have to be a confrontation. It can be small, but it has to be real. Real, not performed, not curated for approval. Real. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But you cannot become who you truly are while performing someone else's comfort. Anger has been your most suppressed emotion, and it is also your most important one. Because anger, real clean anger, is the emotion that says, this is not acceptable. I deserve better than this. You have crossed a line. Your anger is not dangerous. It is information. It is the voice of your authentic self, which has been muzzled since childhood, trying to tell you where your boundaries are. You do not need to unleash it on anyone, but you need to stop pretending it does not exist. Journal it. Move it through your body. Scream into a pillow. Let it be real, because the energy you spend suppressing your anger is the energy that should be protecting you. With clear eyes now, not the eyes of the wounded child desperate for approval, but the eyes of someone beginning to see, look at the people in your life. Who drains you consistently? Who takes without giving? Who makes you feel smaller after time with them? Who has never once asked how you are actually doing? You do not have to burn everything down today, but you have to be honest, because the relationships that cannot survive your becoming are not relationships. They are arrangements, and you have outgrown them. Before you say yes to anything, any request, any demand, any obligation placed on you, pause, breathe. Ask yourself one question. Am I doing this because I genuinely wanna? Or am I doing this because I am afraid of what happens if I don't? That pause is the beginning of sovereignty. That single moment of honest self-inquiry is the crack in the mask where the light gets in. This is the deepest and most important step. Jung described individuation as the process of becoming whole, integrating the shadow, dissolving the false persona, and meeting the self, capital S, the self that exists beyond your wounds, beyond your conditioning, beyond your fear. This process takes time. It is not a weekend workshop. It is a life's work. But it begins with a single commitment. I will stop lying about who I am, to others, and most importantly, to myself. Consider working with a Jungian therapist or analyst if you can. Read Jung's own words. Modern man in search of a soul is a powerful starting place. The journey inward is the journey home. Let me tell you who you become. You become someone who can be in a room full of people who disapprove of you and still know exactly who you are. You become someone whose yes means yes, and whose no is a complete sentence. You become someone who does not need to be needed in order to feel worthy. You become someone whose kindness is freely given, not desperately offered, whose love is abundant, not transactional, whose presence in a room carries a different kind of weight. Not the weight of someone who is trying to earn their place, but the weight of someone who knows they belong. You become someone that manipulators and takers and energy vampires look at and instinctively move away from. Not because you're cold, but because you cannot be used. And people who cannot use you have no interest in you. And that is the greatest gift. Here are the signs that the work is happening. Watch for them. You will start to feel uncomfortable in your old patterns before you know what to replace them with. That discomfort is progress. You will sometimes feel guilty for saying no, even when no is the most self-respecting answer available to you. That guilt is the old programming fighting for its life. Let it fight. It will tire. You will lose some relationships. People who benefited from your smallness will not celebrate your expansion. Their discomfort with your growth is not evidence that you're doing something wrong. It is evidence that you are doing something right. You will have moments of profound loneliness, the kind that comes from finally being honest and realizing how many of your connections were built on performance. That loneliness is not emptiness. It is space. Space for something real. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, something else will begin. You will start to attract people who see you, who can handle the real you, who do not need you to be smaller, who are not threatened by your becoming. Jung wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. There is no single path for everyone, but there is a path for you. Beneath the mask, beneath the wound, beneath the years of giving yourself away in exchange for the pale substitute of approval, there is a person who has been waiting with extraordinary patience to be lived. You have permission. You have always had permission. You were just never told. You are allowed to want things. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to have opinions that inconvenience people. You are allowed to stop explaining yourself. You are allowed to be done with relationships that ask you to shrink. You are allowed to take up space. Become who you are afraid to be. Not someday. Now, in the next conversation. In the next moment someone asks something of you that you do not want to give. In the next silence where you would normally fill the space with your own erasure. Begin there. Begin in the small. And watch what grows. Before you go, I want to ask you something. And I want you to think about it seriously. What is the one version of yourself, the one part of who you really are, that you have been most afraid to let anyone see? The part you have hidden the longest, the part you think might cost you love if it were ever truly known. Tell me in the comments, because I believe that naming it, even just typing it out, is the first act of bringing it back into the light. And you will not be alone, because everyone watching this video carries something similar, a buried self, a hidden truth, a shadow that has been waiting far too long. If this resonated with you, if this felt less like a video and more like something you have been needing to hear for years, write the words, "I am becoming" in the comments. That is your declaration. That is your beginning. And if you want to go deeper into Jungian psychology, the shadow, and the work of becoming who you truly are, subscribe, because that is exactly what this channel is for. Every week we go further, we go deeper, we refuse easy answers, and we refuse comfortable lies. The next video is even more important than this one. Watch it now.